as Trump attempts to push his authoritarian playbook on Americans, we are seeing acts of defiance from the most important institutions in the country, universities, the Department of Justice, the media, and major law firms. My name is Dina Doll from the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. Now, the most recent one has to do with the executive producer of 60 Minutes, Bill Owens. He just resigned in protest over Trump's attempt to control the media and specifically his news program, which is considered one of the most eminent news programs in America. As we know, Trump sued CBS over the 60 Minutes interview with Vice President Harris that was aired back in October during the run-up to the election. And he sued them for $20 billion, this fake number that makes zero sense. And 60 Minutes has always had independence within the CBS news division. They've never had to have their program reviewed and approved by the higher ups. But lately they have. This oversight was taking away the journalistic independence of 60 Minutes. According to the memo that Bill Owens sent to his staff, he said, quote, in his reason for resigning, quote, over the past months, it has become clear that I would not be allowed to run this show as I have always run it, to make independent decisions based on what was right for 60 Minutes, right for the audience. This resignation, he is only the third person to run that show in its 57-year history. Essentially, the executive producers there stay, and they stay for a long time. This act of defiance, him sending his resignation letter, making it public, making it clear that CBS News was trying to control the content of a major news program because of what the current president of the United States was saying about him. Because it wasn't just that lawsuit. As we know, he put out that Truth Social post because they had a critical show of him, and he threatened to take away their FCC license. Now, I was a journalist before I went to law school, and the most important part of journalism is your credibility, is your independence. Without that, you are nothing as a journalist. That is the foundation for how to have people be able to want to trust your news source. So this resignation, putting on alert that he is not going to be controlled as a journalist, that he is going to remain independent. This is how you create independent journalism. And we used to be able to rely on that with the CBSs, with the ABCs. We already saw the settlement with ABC, the $10 million settlement months ago. And now, although there is not a settlement yet, we think they are in talks. Most likely they are going to be settling this because they want the merger with Paramount to go forward. But the fact is, when you look at it from a journalistic perspective, CBS's news has done far more damage by trying to control the content. But also, when you look at it just from a legal perspective, his lawsuit against them has zero merit, because to have a civil lawsuit be successful, you have to prove damages. Even if he could prove that somehow that interview was edited in a way to create civil liability, which he will fail on that part because there is not any kind of strong basis. We know that the Fox News interview with him was edited. Similarly, it was consistent with journalistic practices. But even if you overcame that, even if he overcame that, you have to prove damages. And the fact is, he won the election after that interview was aired. There are no damages. There is no way he could get a $20 billion. There's no way he could even get $1 million damages there, because there's no damages from that interview. This is how meritless this lawsuit is. And the fact that CBS was so willing to take a hammer to their most important news organization shows what happens when you are willing to obey in advance. You are willing to hurt your own program, which we know people are already leaving media and going to independent journalism because of how they see all these corporations caring about their own pockets and not about actually delivering information and standing up against Trump. And this is just the latest example. They're going to lose viewership, as they should, because they are no longer a trusted source if they are willing to do this with Trump. And then you also have to take into account his Truth Social post threatening to take away the FCC license. If he managed to revoke their FCC license, CBS would have an incredibly strong First Amendment violation, because he literally threatened it after they put out a program, which means he tied revoking their license to their speech. I can think of no greater First Amendment argument they would have in court. Stand up for what's right, CBS. Your executive producer just showed you how to defy it. He is going to keep his journalistic integrity and be able to go forth and build another show in some home to stand up to Trump. And the CBS is going to lose viewers, as they should. But it's not even just at Bill Owens that's standing up. We now also see 3 prosecutors resigning in defiance over the Eric Adams situation. As we know, the Department of Justice had asked them to dismiss the case against Eric Adams, and they refused because they found no legal basis to it. As we remember, really the reason why the Trump regime wanted to dismiss without prejudice was to be able to control Eric Adams, as with immigration, to hold it over him. So these 3 prosecutors at the time refused to do it. So they were put on administrative leave. And then they were told that they could resume their jobs if they apologized for what they had done and admitted wrongdoing, like as if they did anything wrong. And these 3 prosecutors, instead of expressing regret, they wanted them to bend the knee to Trump and express regret for not listening to the directive that had no legal basis. Literally, their job is to prosecute criminals. They had the evidence. They were able to get an indictment, and they were asked to ignore the oath that they took as lawyers, ignore their responsibilities as prosecutors, and to do instead the bidding of Trump. And they said no. And they were asked to express regret over this. And instead of doing that, they resigned in protest. Lawyers at the Department of Justice acting in defiance, keeping their integrity, because this is the moment where people are going to show us who they are. Are you willing to stand up for what is right, what is true, what is literally what you're called upon on your job, or are you going to obey in advance? These prosecutors doing the right thing and resigning. Mother's Day is such a special time to celebrate mothers and women who embody what it means to be a mom. This year, I was lucky enough to shop at Quince. They have a huge selection of items, including cashmere sweaters from $50, 14-karat gold jewelry, Italian leather bags, fragrances, and more. The best part, that all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I love that. So what I decided to buy for my mom was their loungewear, beautiful, high quality fabric. And I decided to buy something for myself. I picked up this shirt because I'm always looking for something that looks sophisticated, but that is easy to clean. And this is a silk shirt that makes me look very professional in front of the camera or when I'm in front of clients out in the world. And it also is easy to clean as it is machine washable. Quince is thoughtful, timeless, totally her. Shop Mother's Day at Quince. Go to quince.com/mistrial for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/mistrial to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/mistrial. And then we have the law firms. As we know, there was the fourth law firm recently that fought the executive order in court. That was Sussman Godfrey. They were the ones that that were negotiated the nearly $1 billion against Fox when Trump decided to lie about losing the election in 2020. And Sussman Godfrey represented Dominion against Fox, a major media outlet who was willing to spew such an awful lie against our democracy. And of course, Trump is going after them with the executive order. They went to court to stop it. They won in court. That's the fourth big law firm now, willing to risk financial loss because these law firms, these big law firms often have clients like Boeing and Northrop and other major companies who have government contracts. And so when Trump goes after them by executive order and says that you can't work with anybody that you work with will also lose their government clearance, that means those are clients they will lose. And those law firms said that they were losing clients. Not only that, but then the clients are afraid that if they stay with this law firm, then Trump will go after them. And so they were risking their own financial livelihood in order to stand up for Trump. And the reason why it is so important to have these big law firms stand up for Trump. I mean, I used to be at one of these big law firms, not one named yet by Trump, but in that same size, in that same ability, is these law firms are the ones that take the cases to the Supreme Court. They're the ones that litigate. There's a reason why they represented Jack Smith, the DNC, the prosecutors, having to do even with the prosecutors who were prosecuting the case against Trump in New York when Jim Jordan went after them. These law firms are the ones that have the training, the capacity to take the cases that mean so much in our democracy. And Trump knows this, and this is why he's going after them. So these four law firms easily won in court against these executive orders, all the judges finding that these seem to be completely unconstitutional. But we know there are many law firms who did not fight it, and they obeyed in advance. And they thought that they could sign a contract, and they did. So these law firms thought they signed a contract saying that our associates will work for free for causes that we agree with. But we already hear Trump talking about how he plans to use these big law firms as his personal attorneys and use them to negotiate trade deals and even for his own personal litigation. Basically, these law firms that complied in advance are now on the hook to represent him from any kind of crazy legal issue he wants. How and why did they think this person would honor a flimsy agreement when he can't even honor our Constitution? No, these law firms already tanked their credibility by agreeing with him to begin with. And now they're going to find out what it means to be in business with somebody who is not going to honor any agreement. Then let's talk about the universities. Harvard University, in an act of defiance, said that they were not going to cooperate with Trump. And what happened as a result was Trump looking silly, saying that they sent that letter by mistake. Who believes that? Of course they didn't send that by mistake. But Harvard compared to Columbia, showing why it is so important to stick to your values and to your beliefs, because Columbia did comply and entered into an agreement with him, demolishing their credibility, changing the way that they work as a university, only to still have the Trump administration want to take over them by federal oversight. So you lose your credibility, and then it's still not enough. And we see that with the media. We see that with the law firms, and we see that with the universities, where Harvard taking the other track, defying Trump, saying we are not willing to change how we act to do your bidding. And what happened instead? Trump had to try to say that walk it back. And also they had all of these donations flood in, because when you stick to the principles that you say are important to you, then people respond. Harvard taking the track, those law firms fighting back, the prosecutors resigning, and Bill Owens at 60 Minutes saying, my integrity is not for sale. all of us, acts of defiance, slowing down Trump's attempt to demolish our democracy and leading the way. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. We will continue to break down all these developing stories as they come.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.